Good now, revolutionaries, and welcome to the Rise Up Morning Show.
Good morning, the Rise Up Morning Show.
Evan, I have to say that yesterday, when Christina was listening to me do some soundboard troubleshooting, is also the first time she heard the gong, and it makes me happy every time. It's just so funny that at the end of that little ditty, it's just the most monstrous gong of all time.
Correct.
It's beautiful.
I'm a big fan.
It is. I am a big fan of this. I didn't get that sound, but anyway, it is wonderful to see all of you finally. Evan coming to us live from Industry City in New York City on the ground at Permissionless, courtesy of our wonderful friends over at Aptos, who were kind enough to send Evan to New York City for the conference to bring us a little bit of on the ground. So, first of all, how are all of you doing?
Doing great today.
Now that the markets are green again, I'm great. I'm wonderful. Big green candles on Bitcoin make me very happy. So
Yeah, what a wild ride we've had.
Wonderful. Yeah, right. And gonna continue to have, most likely.
Jeez,
So before we get into all that, Evan, I'm wondering if you can, first of all, give us just a quick tidbit of what everything is, how everything is going, and what's all happening from your side, and then if you could be so kind as to introduce our wonderful guests.
I would be glad to. So, Alex, I don't know if you got the picture I sent you, but I do have a cute little screen share if you've got it, and if you don't fret about it, don't sweat about it. I'll share it at another time. But as with all crypto conferences, this one has been truly busy. It's no exception. I got on the ground yesterday, and I took one of those, what they call gypsy cabs, from LaGuardia Airport into Brooklyn. You know, the ones where the guy's hustling you in the airport and he's like, my friend. And they say never to do that, but the cab line was so long and the Uber fare was surging, and I was like, there's nothing this man can charge me that would not be worth the convenience of this ride. So I got in the cab, made it to my destination. It was great. Super easy ride. They let me check in the hotel early, and then I went to the Block Space, which is our friends at Layer Zero, that they host for Polkadot in conjunction with Polkadot every year. They always have the best co-working space, some of the best events. I helped them improvise a balloon arch, a DJ setup, and then I went to a TradFi event. So it was like the best of both worlds, you know, like the Berlin-style rave co-work Web3 party, and then institutional investors. And I got to talk to a lot of great people there. I saw folks from Stellar, from Marinade, from Figment, and several other independent players too. And then, Alex, I didn't get to tell you this, but I thought it was really kind of nerdy that I ran into a guy at the evening event who said, I work for a stablecoin company that you've probably never heard of. I said, really? He said, yeah, I work for Agora. And I said, oh my gosh. I said, actually, we know Agora well. I said, because we were just talking to the Katana team. We were just talking to Mark Boyrin about AgLayer, and he said, oh my gosh. And so our friends in Discord will be pleased to know that we will have some folks from Agora on to talk about the incentive flywheel that they're building. I think it's a really interesting confluence of like established industry ecosystems with like a burgeoning stablecoin. They're willing to be a loss leader to grow the pie and bring more people on chain. And then today, our friends at Aptos have a big announcement. All I know is the code word is Shelby, and we might get fired for me leaking that. So do with that information what you will. There will be more context later, but Shelby is the word on the street from Aptos. I think they're going to have some kind of announcement about it later today. Enough from me. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, all of a sudden, Evan, this trip to New York became very expensive. Like, what did he say?
Yeah, exactly.
We're not
right.
reimbursing any of them.
Leaked. No, I think it'll be okay. I think we'll be okay. It'll drum up some excitement and, you know, get the Twitter buzz going. But that's enough about me. We also have a very exciting guest today that I had a chance to talk to last week. Was it 2 weeks ago now, Brian? And he showed me a killer presentation after we went back and forth trying to connect, because Brian is with Glider. He is building an automated, gas-free crypto portfolio solution that will make it easy for not just people like us, crypto natives, but increasingly everyday people who are coming on chain and overwhelmed with options to have better choices for their user experience. And I'm really thrilled to have him walk us through some of the stuff they're building. So Brian, welcome to the Rise Up Morning Show, my friend. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you guys. Happy to be here. Yeah, as Evan said, co-founder and CEO of Glider. Glider is a platform for building automated DeFi portfolios with all the good things that Evan also just said. No gas, no signing, no bridging. We'll get into a little bit later on.
Very cool. When I met you last week, you showed me this killer presentation, guys. I cannot wait for Brian to kind of walk us through some of this. I don't know how much of it is like still secret and what's coming, but wait till you see this stuff. You're gonna go, oh yeah, we need this.
So what was your story then from like getting into GliderFi? What was kind of like that road leading up to it, the original idea and need in like ideation for Glider? And if you could start there, that's kind of where I'm curious to start the conversation.
Yeah. So I got into crypto in 2015, actually, which was crazy that it's 10 years ago at this point. I was at MIT at the time. They did an experiment that's semi-famous where they gave everyone a third of a Bitcoin. And so let me preface this. A third of a Bitcoin.
This was 2015. Yeah.
2015. So $100, right? So still a pretty meaningful amount for every student, but not like 33K what it was today.
It's like, damn, I knew MIT had it. I didn't know they had it like that. But yeah, 2015. yeah.
So the goal of the experiment was to see how people would spend digital currencies, right? And it was so far ahead of its time. Like this is the era where they asked you to sign up and they told you to create a Circle account for custody. Like I had a Circle wallet in 2015. It doesn't even exist anymore, I don't think. Anyways, I sold that at like $300, thinking I had tripled my money. You know, that was a great return. And that was sort of the beginning. I think that introduced a lot of people to crypto. You know, there's a lot of other MIT founders, Monad, you know, some bad ones, FTX, etc. So, and you know, from there I was using GDAX, which is Coinbase Pro's predecessor. Back then it was free to trade, which was really crazy. Like imagine using Coinbase for free. Yeah,
that'd be nuts. Also, I do want to point out that Brian, good job for you to more than double your money and you hit the sell button. You know, I mean, like it would have been best to try to have held it, but you know what? Good job. Good job.
And that took me 2 years at least. You know, so I was like, okay, it's time. It's time. So fast forward through a couple things. You know, DeFi summer, participated in some NFT stuff. My early career was in TradFi, so I worked at a big bank. Worked at a trading firm that traded a little bit of crypto. Then I worked at a sort of my first real full-time crypto job was at Anchorage, which is a big institutional custodian in the US. They hold funds for, you know, every major VC, hedge fund, asset manager, sovereign wealth fund at this point too, in the US. And finally now started something on my own with another co-founder, John. We think DeFi is really complicated, right? And we need to just make it easier for everyone. So that's sort of our guiding principle. And we also believe that you sort of have the same flavor of apps that are on every single chain these days. You know, you've got your DEX, your lending protocol, your perps exchange. And so how do we mix things up a little bit? How do we take things beyond where we currently are? And that's where we came to Glider. So, yeah, maybe now is a good time to show you guys.
I think so too. I just wanted to say, as like while you pull it up, for people who want to be doing their homework, playing along with the show, you can check them out at glider_fi or glider.fi. The underscore on X, the dot at your favorite web browser. And you guys are building on Base, correct, to start?
That is correct. We will launch on some more chains in the future so that you can do things, you know, Solana and Base and any number of other chains beyond that. We're going to do Hyperliquid as well, and that's where you can actually do perps and spot in the same place, which gets really cool. Alex, are you able to share my screen? I don't think I have the permission to do it.
I got you right here.
Permission granted, baby.
Yeah, you're at permissionless after all, so.
Yeah, exactly. We don't need no stinking permission. But please give us regulation.
So here's an overview of Glider. This is all live. If you go to our website, you can sign up for the wait list. We've got over 200,000 people on the wait list right now, and letting off right now about 1,000 a day. And we'll ramp that up as we get closer to launch. But what are we looking at? So this is a very simple portfolio. You've got Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Aerodrome. I've been holding this since, looks like, April 27th, so almost 2 months. And the whole picture of Glider is it will rebalance this portfolio at any period of your choice. And so it's set to an hour right now. I can click rebalance. Notice that there's no MetaMask pop-up, there's no Phantom pop-up, no signature, all of the gas we cover. And here you can see your portfolio composition, the sort of schema that you have created, these building blocks that we've built in-house, and the portfolio history. And then
for
just to
people
give
in
you
podcast land, just really quick, you can see this on YouTube if you check out the Rise Up Morning Show, but it really looks like a portfolio management dashboard you'd expect from something like, M1 or Robinhood or Webull. And it's got these drag and droppable pieces that make it really visually very intuitive to kind of assemble this strategy together. Sorry, Brian,
Definitely.
Go ahead, man.
No, that's exactly it, right? Like, the whole idea here is that you can create these portfolios out of our building blocks, and it starts with really simple weights. So you can say, like, I want to hold 25% ETH, 50% Bitcoin, and 25% Aerodrome. And this can be any token. So you can create any portfolio, any weighted sort of index fund, ETF, if you're coming from traditional finance world. And that's just the start. You can do things that are a little bit more dynamic. So for example, if you want to hold the top 10 trending tokens, in this case on base, you can do that as well. And the cool part about this is it will automatically reevaluate what's trending at any interval of your choice again. So you're always holding the trending assets. Sell out of what's no longer trending, buy into what is trending entirely automatically.
How does it, Brian, quick question. How does it decide what is trending?
Yeah, so we can pull data from anywhere. This comes from Deck Screener. So, what many of you DGens are already familiar with, this just pulls in whatever they have as their top 10 trending assets.
Okay, is there a potential problem in that scenario where maybe you would end up be buying tops as a coin becomes trending? Or, is that the potential? But then also the thought process is if it remains hot, then a general top is much further down on the chart if it remains trending. So I was just curious how that works, if there was any kind of thought around that
100%.
mechanism. Okay.
Killer question.
We can put some more like parameters around it, let's say. But we've seen it work pretty well for our users over longer periods of time. But you're 100% right. Like, if it's trending, has it already peaked? Are we not early enough? It's hard to say. All right.
Yeah.
Deck Screener has their own proprietary popularity or trending mechanism. But again, we can pull this from anywhere. So if it's something that, like, if there's some screener that you've set up as well, you can use your actual screener here as well. So I didn't show this, but you can decide, just put it back here. You can decide, I only want to hold, sub 50K market cap tokens, right? And then you're getting into these tokens that are, a little bit earlier on in their life cycle.
Gotcha. Well, even then too, it's particularly in this past years of this cycle. I don't even know if cycle is the right word to use anymore. Everything's so different now. The cycles are probably broken. We'll see. But the altcoins have, for the most part, have just been getting crushed by Bitcoin if you look at Bitcoin dominance. But the altcoins that have done well are typically the same names that keep cropping up every single time Bitcoin goes green. So once these coins start to trend, they've remained sticky for coins that have continued to do well. So, I still think that trending tool is useful, but I was curious on that question. So
yeah, we don't want to make it too complicated for our users either.
No. Nice and
there's
easy.
a balance here,
nice
right?
and easy.
how many parameters do we throw at somebody versus just letting them, sort of choose a default. The real value actually in Glider 2 is not just that you can create these ETF-like baskets. It's the fact that these are all fully non-custodial, so that you actually own these assets as well. So every
Nice.
time you create a portfolio, you get these set of non-custodial wallets. And within these wallets, we've not written any smart contracts here. This is not a vault structure. Your assets remain your assets, and for very good reason, right? Your assets being, in this case, Coinbase, Ethereum, and Aerodrome, you can still lend, you can still stake, participate in governance, vote in a DAO, claim an airdrop, use these assets as collateral. These are things you don't get when you put them into a vault, right? Somebody else might be earning yield that they're not giving back to you. If you're in a tokenized ETF token, right? Like those assets also might be used for, other forms of yield that you might not be getting as the end user. And so we'll be releasing yield very soon. And again, it'll unyield, it'll rebalance and re-yield entirely automatically for you. But on top of that, right?
Very cool.
Because you own the assets, you can withdraw any and all of them as well. So like no surprises here. If you go into the wallet scanner, these are the assets you have. So there's some other sharing mechanics as well. So you can share them with a friend, and you can do some form of copy trading where they can either follow your portfolio if they want to, or you can just copy them, right now at this point in time as well.
That was a question I had for Brian when we first met, and I was looking through this. Is like, oh, could you imagine like the social layer on top of this? MEXC does some of that, Hyperliquid does some of that, but they're like kind of like DeFi advanced. And I feel like something that's more accessible like this, it would be a lot easier for somebody to check out my new strategy, check this out, and earn social capital from that while they're sharing. Very cool.
Yeah, yeah. It's the shareability flywheel is going to be really cool. We're going to launch referrals very soon, and so when you refer a friend, there are benefits that are going to be associated with that. We also want to do something very similar to Hyperliquid Vaults, where if you create a portfolio that does well, the people who use it can earn. You will earn 10% of the profits for the people who also use your portfolio as well, which is really cool as a flywheel.
Yeah, that's killer. Can you talk about what makes it gasless?
That was my next question.
Yeah. So we think every app should be doing this for what it's worth. Like if you're still using an app and you're paying gas, they're in like 2023 world. That's not the world we're in anymore.
Oh no, everything I use is old.
So behind the scenes, we use what's called a paymaster. There are a number of paymaster companies out there. Coinbase has one, ZeroDev has one. These are pretty commoditized tech at this point. You can just choose your vendor, and we actually pay for all the gas for you guys. So it's not like it's magical. There is still gas, but
Right.
the whole goal here is rebalance every hour, every minute, every day. If you had to pay gas every minute, this wouldn't be a thing, right? And so every good app out there should be paying for gas for their users.
And so that's how that's going to take the gasless nature of this and take it to future chains in the future, Solana and the likes. Okay, that was good. That was the genesis of my thinking of asking that. I was like, well, how do you take the gaslessness of Base if you've built something within Base to do that, then elsewhere? But no, there's proprietary, or there's already a solution in place that's easily scalable to the interoperability phase.
On the Solana side, it's a little bit trickier actually on the gas, but we've got some. You can call it proprietary tech. We're working with a very specific Solana team on building out a wallet that is ultra low cost for sort of frequent rebalances. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and this is something people should expect to see more of just generally in your adventures on chain. People are abstracting wallets. They're making wallets smarter. And I think you guys are really, I said to Brian when I was watching this, I was like, you're in such a good position to capitalize on so many of these narratives, but in a way that's not just hype. You see a lot of stuff in the crypto space where it's like empty promises, but this is like a really good step towards delivering some of these things. So kudos to you, man, because it's killer.
Thanks. We think about this as like investing, right? Like, yes, you can go and trade and you can be on hyperliquid and get leverage and things like that. But ultimately, right, all of us have some form of assets that we're holding long term. And you can put these into Glider. If you want to rebalance, you can. If you don't want to rebalance, you just want to earn yield, very easy to do that as well. And we can actually aggregate any yield source. And so, if it's Aave, Compound, like sort of simple ones, that's fine. But we can also aggregate, let's say there are agents out there that are actually finding the yield for you, right? The best yield. You can also pull them in and you can allocate funds to that agent to always be optimizing yield for you as well. So.
And then why did you choose Base as the first place to build on?
Yeah, we get this question a lot. So on the EVM side, Base is by far the highest in terms of trading volume, at least recently, right? That's changed over the history of EVM, of course. And then on top of that, this was decided before Coinbase was an investor here, but Coinbase being an investor now has sort of helped us double down into the Base ecosystem. And having that as a backing, we think is really important. Other than that, I don't know if that too much else thought went into it. We knew we were going to be building this for a chain agnostic world anyways. And so Base is just the first place. We're actually going to be releasing another chain in about post-launch 3 weeks after. And then every couple weeks after that, we're going to be going to even another chain. So Base is our home base for sure. But, as the end user, do you really care what chain the token's on?
No, as the end user, no. But I think that my initial thought is you chose the perfect place for your first home in Base, because this solution is phenomenal for someone who wants to get into more altcoins. Let's just say they heard about Bitcoin and XRP, the big headline coins, and Ethereum's ETF and yada, and they buy 1, 2, maybe 3 of those. And then they learn about, maybe 6 months go by, they learn about decentralized finance and they go, oh, what's this whole world? And they hear about hyperliquid and they hear about perpetual trading and leverage and all that stuff. And if you're brand new to investing in general, that is like 7 degrees of separation in terms of like where you should be. You're skipping like 7 steps of like learning how to get on chain and put out your wallet and all that kind of stuff. This is like a step 3 kind of a thing, because there's far less skill needed in order to invest and rebalance and all of that. So this is a phenomenal solution for people who either just want to keep things simple, in my mind, or who are looking for that next step as they continue on their journey of becoming a Web3 native. And they want to get into other altcoins in an easy to manage way. And Base has always, to me, been, this is going to be the chain for every new person who comes on chain. It's going to be the number one stop, because Coinbase is just going to go,
want to be.
Hey, they certainly want to be. And I think they're positioned for it right now and have been proving that, where, hey, you're on Coinbase for the first time. Great. Hey, here's this Base. Boom, gateway. There you are. Now you're on Base. Here's Glider, great solution. Hey, let me get into this. I have this portfolio, easy to manage, yada, yada. Hopefully take a little bit of time with the Rise Up Morning Show to learn about how to do other Web3 things. And then, bam, then they elevate and upgrade. So I think this I think this is a phenomenal product for the market that's filling a big gap that's been in existence since 2020 when DeFi summer got hot. So I think this is awesome.
Yeah, we can make it even easier, right? Like, one, we've thought about doing a light version of this where you don't even have to know what a network is. The funny thing is, the value prop to somebody who's in crypto is very different than the value prop for somebody who's never touched crypto before, right? I can say to you guys, you don't have to pay gas. And you're like, that is great. I love that. If I told that to my mom, she'd be like, what are you talking about?
She'd be like, my car's full. What are you talking about?
Yeah, what are you talking about, right? And so that's true for the vast majority of the world, right? Like, the things that I need to sell to crypto, or we need to sell to crypto as like improvements, aren't improvements to people who have never been through the manual, 2018 era of like waiting for your MetaMask to do something for 20 seconds and wondering if you typed in the right address. Like, that is a terrifying experience that they will never have to deal with. So look, pre-launch here, you'll be able to log in with email, with X. It's going to feel very Web2 like. You're never going to have to download a Chrome extension, no pop-ups, no talking about gas. Networks can be abstracted away as much as possible. And then I will say there is a tinge of AI coming in as well. And so our editor that I just showed you here, we understand that this can be a little bit of a barrier to some people. Now, we also realize that the vast majority of people will never use the editor. We already have like 80% of people just copying what other people do and 20% making their own. That's going to get even smaller. But you can actually create these via natural language. And so we haven't released it yet, but you can type into a box like, look, I want to buy ETH when it hits 1800, sad day, and then sell ETH when it hits 3K, right? And then otherwise I want to be holding USDC and earning yield. Like, you could think of this as a little bit like an assistant to help you create these portfolios over time as well. And that'll make this process, even easier than it already is today.
Very cool. So what's
Cool
your
stuff.
portfolio mix up in there?
Oh,
it's a
Will
good
with the hard questions. I love it.
So we have a couple defaults that I've created, and you can see it in our onboarding process here. So these are the three easiest ones that I think if you are just getting into crypto, these make sense to have in your portfolio. So simple 50-50 Bitcoin ETH, easy. We have a really nice DeFi token mix. I'm ultra bullish on Morpho right now. Aerodrome's also,
As you should be.
close friends, and we know them as well. We've got Pendle and Moonwell in there too. There's a couple other like DeFi tokens. I think Uni you could throw into that as well, although Uni is not on base, so we can't have it yet. And then we've got the big five here. So these are the ones that everybody knows, right? Ethereum, XRP, Bitcoin, Solana, Dogecoin. We're working with our friends at Universal. If you guys know universal.xyz, they create essentially wrapped versions of these major tokens on every major chain. And so you can actually get XRP, Solana, Dogecoin exposure before we even add exposure to them, which is really cool.
Now, this is something that's new to me. What's the universal parentheses?
Yeah, Universal is the brand. So if you find them on X, it's universal_XYZ, I believe. It's another A16Z portfolio company. It is from the Long DeFi team. You may have seen him on X. His name is Gout, G-A-U-T. And their whole thing is that, again, you shouldn't have to think about what network the token is on. You should just have the token. And so they issue these tokens on every single major network. They have a really cool wrapping mechanism. They use Coinbase Institutional behind the scenes to actually hold the collateral for you. And you can always see that they are always over collateralized on the actual underlying compared to the wrapped form of it.
Gotcha. I think you also just gave me my favorite way that I'll now describe interoperability to people. Oh, you know that coin? Yeah, you should just have that coin.
Yeah.
Boom, done. There it is.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wow, that was surprisingly, let's just like the simplest way to say things just really cuts through all the jargon we use all the time.
Yeah.
We just make it too complicated.
We make it too complicated.
We do. We're also quite like clan centric, like there's people who are like all in on base. There are people who are all in on Solana, and we're going to see a blurring of those lines over time, right? Like, this is tribalism that exists at the early stages of crypto, and that tribalism will dwindle as we get bigger.
Unless you're XRP, you guys over here. No. No. We welcome you all in. You and Ripple beat the SEC, so thank you.
So, Brian, what's coming next for Glider, and how can people participate?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, like, join the waitlist online. We're letting off 1,000 people a day right now. It's taking us a lot of time to let people off, and there's little improvements that we're making as well. Couple things. So I mentioned referrals. I mentioned sharing in strategy profits for people who use your portfolios. We're doing our beta form of points, which will be launching very soon as well, leading to, who knows what. You'll see what points lead to. We have an ambassador program as well that's lining up. And so looking for regional ambassadors across the entire world. I should say that our team is also very international. We've got 6 team members, and all of us are in different countries except for the 2 co-founders in the US. So it's Canada, Brazil, Hong Kong, and Paris. So truly international. Other than that, we are rolling out a whole bunch of chains. And so I mentioned Base is where we're starting. Bunch of other EVM chains that we're working with behind the scenes. It's every single big name that you know of. We'll do Solana as well. Solana, hopefully Q3, we'll see. And then Hyperliquid in Q4. So that's the broad rollout. We'll have yields. You know, we're integrating some agents that other people are building because they want to earn different forms of, they want people to be able to take their assets on Glider and allocate them to their agents. I should mention one other thing. We have an API as well. And so we have a number of builders who are building on top of what we've created. These are like Telegram apps, mobile apps, Farcaster apps, DEXs, wallets, like Web2 dashboards. And like, what does that look like? That means you can take these portfolios, curate them for your audience, embed them into your front end, and then you can charge, you know, your very simple like 2% annual fee. And so this allows you to like actually not have to visit the Glider platform if you don't want to, right? Our platform is very much just like a showcase, right? Like this is what you can do. Go and like create your own like degen portfolio, share it with your friends, embed it into your front end, monetize. That's the bigger picture here. So that's coming as well. We have a number of integrators already building on top of us.
That's very cool, man. I know our people will be really excited. If you want to join the wait list, you want to check this out, the best place to do it is glider.fi. We'll have the link in the description below. We'll drop it in Discord. And I was telling Brian, you know, this is such a great product to share with the folks in our audience. So I'm hopeful that we can have you back sometime. Maybe work on something together, figure out a DeFi class or something else to help more people get in touch with a tool like this. I am going to join you in one of our rituals. We always ride our dogs and ponies into the sunset with folks and give a final thought. So take a minute and collect your thoughts. I am going to rug you to give my final thought because behind me there's some sort of international meetup happening where people sound like they're speaking several different dialects of Mandarin, which is very exciting, but very loud. And I've got to go meet our friends at Aptos to figure out what this announcement is. So my final thought for people is going to be thank you, Alex and Will, for holding down the fort. Thank you, yes, you, for tuning in and being the very best part of what we do. If you want updates on what I am doing, then follow along on TikTok and Twitter at Evan_man. TikTok, of course, is Conversations with Evan. And stay tuned because in the sweeping crime ring of taking down TikTok accounts for crypto influencers, we're getting targeted left and right. So I'm going to work on putting up an alternate account, and I will broadcast what that is soon. We will reach you with helpful crypto news, commentary, answers to your questions, wherever you are, whenever you listen. The best place to get in touch with us will always be theriseuppmorningshow.com. Brian, thanks, man. Alex, thank you. Will, thank you. Brian, I'll kick it to you for a final thought and gracefully see myself out.
I know you've set a high bar. I've got a match here now.
He always does.
Yeah. You know, the one thing I'll say is you guys are still early, right? Crypto, how many millions of people in the world use crypto every year, right? We're not even at billions yet. And so creating apps and building UI UX that we think is going to be building for the rest of the world is still really, really valuable. And we're hoping that we can be a part of that journey for people who are still trying to learn more about crypto, get into it, and don't have to feel like it's this daunting, complicated bridging, zapping, gas, you know, swapping, tricky place to deal with. It should feel safe. It should feel welcoming, and it should feel like a place where you can participate in what we think is the future of finance.
Well said, man. Alex, you, me, you, me. Oh, well, we're still. Are we still going to be here for a little bit?
We're still going to be here for a few minutes. Yes.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think we're leaving yet. I looked down and I was like, this will be the shortest episode ever. there goes Evan. I don't know if I was to give a 3/4 of the way through show thought. My
There you
thought
go.
would be, we got to get Evan like a throat lozenge or something. He's losing his voice after just like 20 hours at Permissionless.
He had a big day, and he does need to rest up because he needs to be there for the entire rest of the week. So,
Oh God, good luck. Good luck.
you know, it is what it is. But
Yeah.
no, I was just gonna say, Brian, thank you so much for giving us some of your time today. I'm very excited. The only thing that I could think while I was looking at the demo there, which was great, was just how much this looks kind of like a little bit nicer, cleaner, tighter version of all of my TradFi stuff, like my Schwab dashboard, my let's see who else, even the American Express dashboard, or my couple different my Roth IRA. As I log in to look at that setup, honestly, I think a lot of them could take a page out of your book, because there's some unnecessary fluff there. And actually, Schwab, their dashboard's awful.
Have you ever used Fidelity? Have you ever used Fidelity?
Yeah.
I use Fidelity for my TradFi stuff, and it is like I'm back in 2002. It is horrific.
Yes.
And I've been using it for a decade now, and even still, I go back and I'm like, shit. Where do I go?
It's funny because we never, we talk about jargon that keeps people out of crypto, but it's kind of funny when you look back, and Brian, I'm sure that you can relate as being someone who has done both DeFi and TradFi. I just, like, one example that always sticks out in my head is, I don't know how many years I've been using Charles Schwab, but a long ass time. And every single time I go in there and I'm just trying to like put money from checking into my Roth, right? And there's like a big old deposit button on the home screen. That's only for checks. And then if you want to transfer money, you got to like dig through 3 different pages. It's just like, of all the things you guys could fix, I feel like that's so simple. And
that's the world we're sort of getting into too. Like, once more assets are on chain, right? Like, Glider is not just about managing crypto. Ultimately, it's about managing assets on chain, right? And what it actually starts to look like, I showed you one portfolio, but you can create as many portfolios as you want. You can have your stablecoin yield portfolio, your RWA portfolio, your on-chain stock portfolio, your what am I missing? Crypto portfolio, of course, right? Like, and now you have a permissionless way of moving assets between all of them. They all communicate with set rules that you have set up, and then it looks very much like a brokerage account for what it's worth, but a better, more optimized, permissionless, no walled gardens type of setup. When you think about, like, if you want to move money from Coinbase to Robinhood, you like got to go through an intermediary bank, right? Like, that whole process is so broken, right? Like, that's like a 3-day. I've got to like wait for the money to hit, then I have to send it to Robinhood, then I can't withdraw it because the money hasn't hit there. It's like a very, very broken process.
Yeah, and I was gonna say that the entire time I was looking at the demo here, it reminded me the first time I ever started investing, I actually used like the robo advisor. I think was it Wealthfront?
Yeah,
I think was the first one I used. Yeah. But I was like, damn, this is just like a better version of that. Although I haven't used Wealthfront in 11 years, but no, it gave me like very similar vibes. It was like very easy to use, nice, clean.
I mean,
It was good.
I'll tell you right now, if I had a single dashboard where I could manage like
Your entire portfolio.
non-crypto stuff, like as you mentioned, my pile of RWAs, which I would love to expand. Being able to like hold your tokenized gold and find DeFi opportunities to do with like tokenized gold over here. And then also, I don't know, like a piece of real estate that you own, some tokens that represent this apartment complex or this house or this whatever over here in this side. Also be able to keep like my little bit more, degenerate stuff over here. And then also my, swath of Solana over here. And then all my other stuff over here. And I mean, any ability to like commingle and cross pollinate between these two things and opens up people to be able to offer yield opportunities. Like, I would imagine specifically through you guys, if someone is managing like more than 3 different portfolios, to be able to combine this or that. I could imagine that. I think a really interesting conversation, Will, what was coming through my mind this whole time was like, this is like the app layer of what the ag layer is trying to do for, like deep liquidity across multiple specific chain ecosystems. these feel like a match made in heaven. I would love to see the two you guys is that something on the radar? I mean, I don't want you to spill anything you're not supposed to say, but like, where are you guys kind of thinking, in years down the line, as far as like, your wish list? You could wave a magic wand and get, 10 things for the product. Kind of, is that where your head's at, or are you thinking something else?
Yeah. I mean, I think for us at the app layer, we use a lot of like underlying infrastructure and liquidity and like routing. We don't do anything ourselves, right? Like, we use some DEX aggregators for routing. We use a bunch of underlying DEXs behind the scenes below that. And then all of the lending agents, etc. Like, none of these are things that we're building in-house. So yeah, I think the ag layer stuff could be really interesting as well. I think we may or may not have a Telegram group with them already. So
Another thought that crossed my mind, like, if for folks who are looking at this and thinking about Glider, who have there's the group that I mentioned that's like, hey, it's our first time, we want to get into altcoins, and like, hey, here's an easy way to start to do that and build a portfolio. But so many times I've told people, I'm like, oh, like I've had coaching sessions with folks, and they're just like, hey, Will, just want you to quickly take a look at my portfolio and see if it's like, if it's well set up for me to manage for XYZ goals. I'm like, oh, yeah, sure, I can take a look. And then it's like 30, 40, 50 coins. And I'm just like, you screwed yourself over 40 coins ago. I'm like, how do you possibly manage this? You're going to forget about 30 of these things. And so, but if you have something that you can go one place, and let's say you probably make the mistake of having 30 or more coins or 20 or more coins, it's just to automatically be able to be like, cool, like rebalance. And then just rebalance that portfolio to the makeup that you want. That's such a time saver for people who have, and maybe maybe if you're watching this and you have a bunch of coins and you feel really good about having a bunch of coins, go for it. Your money, your strategy, your goals, go for it, do what you like. But you get to the point where it's like, hey, you want to remanage that. Like, you can just hit one button or go to every single one and swap every single one. And maybe they're on different chains and all that. That's such a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And so many people, I did it when I first got into crypto. I think I had like 25, 30 coins also at one point. And I still to this day will go to a wallet that has like a few $1,000s on it. And I'm just like, what the hell was this? It's like, oh my God. I didn't realize I was a community member of this coin for such a long period of time.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And yeah. I think so my co-founder likes to tell the story too of also how Glider came about in his mind. He has a brother-in-law who's a pilot, right? And as a pilot, you can't be sitting there on DexScooter and Coinbase while you're flying a plane, obviously, right? Like, I mean, I don't know what pilots do up there, but probably not, right?
A lot of nothing. Not much.
Yeah, just on autopilot, right?
Yes.
The idea now that you can set, triggers to get in and out of a token while you don't have to be at your computer is really valuable, right? Not only for somebody who's just like flying a plane, but let's say your token, 5x's at 3 a.m. And by the time you wake up at, 10 a.m., 8 a.m., whatever time you wake up, it's, down to 2x, right? Like, if you want to capture that move, you need something to do it while you are asleep, right? And so that's something that Glider offers. And then it also takes the emotion out of it too. So like, let's say you had, as Will said, like your 50 tokens, you can set like, all right, like I want to get out of this token if it drops 50%, and I want to sell out of this token if it reaches 200%, right? Set those rules, just let it be. And then if it happens, it happens. Otherwise, it stays within that range. And it also takes the emotion out of it too, because you said to yourself, like, look, I bought this token. These are the rules I set up. I'm following the rules, right? You're not wondering when should I sell, because that's typically the hardest part, right? Like, you got in, you're like, wow, it's doubled. Should I wait? And if you remember that you've set this rule, at least there's some like behind the scenes, like, okay, like earlier thought that you're like, no, like I decided I was going to sell it at 2x. So yeah, more functionality. That's definitely going to be easier in Glider.
Yeah, I think we talk about profit taking a lot here, just because it's the first rule that everybody breaks. It's the first one that people think about setting, and it's the first one that they break. And I'm curious, because I'm kind of trying to daydream a little bit about the options that you could have, as you have some sort of AI or AI enabled agent assistant kind of thing, I feel like you could start to be able to play with like more nuanced instructions to deal with profit taking. You know, like I could imagine a world wherein you're holding a bunch of different things across different portfolios and it's managed by this agent. And you want to do a take profit on everything at a timestamp instead of just a percentage movement. So you could have like, hey, I want to sell like 15% of all of my positions at this date or whatever, and I'm going to be out of town or whatever it is. That could be interesting. Or like that when you could, if you could vary based on like the speed at which something explodes, like, hey, if something 2x's in an hour, I want to get the hell out of there, that kind of thing. But if it's like a gradual rise, so like I don't want my take profit to trigger if over the next month and a half we go up double. I'd like to be able to keep kind of adjusting, and obviously, you know, you could manage that kind of much more hands-on. But it just makes me think like we haven't even scratched the surface with like the options that you should have that shouldn't necessarily be more complicated than you would need to make them if you were to just explain what you want to happen to someone. I think that's so cool.
We've got programmable money now, right? Like you should be able to decide how it's being used at all times. There's some more AI stuff coming in for sure. It'll take some time to get there, but that's where things get really, really interesting. I think the building block system that we've set up to is also a really nice visual. The problem with AI that we see a lot of the times is like, do you trust it to do things with finality, right? Like, do you trust it to buy a token, swap a token, lend a token to a contract that you don't know about? The blocks at least give you a way to validate that. So you can see visually like, okay, this is what I actually intended to do. And then you could click go. We think that's very important right now.
Mm-hmm. Hey guys.
So cool, dude. It's so cool.
I unfortunately have to hop off.
Rude.
I know.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Do you want to? Do you have a second to give us a final thought and read yourself out here?
Final thought
there,
is
anything you're looking at for the rest of the week that we didn't get a chance to cover today, or
yeah,
I know we talked about a lot of the data coming out this week. I know it's a big week.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think Glider is awesome.
Bullshit.
And I'm gonna play around with it a little bit because I think it's cool. It's weird. I see this stuff and I'm like, this is fun. But I think it's great. I think you guys have a fantastic product for the market. Final thoughts. Let's see. Jerome Powell had his first testimony in front of Congress, I believe, this morning. I think it already happened. Yes, it did. So, I mean, there's no new information here. Fed is well positioned to wait and see on rate cuts. Tariffs are still expected to push up inflation. No immediate signal for rate cuts provided. Labor market seems solid still. Inflation has eased but remains somewhat elevated. So, I mean, nothing new. Not a big surprise there. We have more Jerome Powell in front of Congress tomorrow. Other than that, I'm still keeping my eyes on headlines between Israel, Iran, and the United States to shape markets, but the oil market certainly thinks that everything's over. Oil prices are going down. Oil market doesn't expect there to be a continuation of escalations. We'll see. Markets tend to be what the smart money is doing. So hopefully, fingers crossed, it'd be great if there's a ceasefire, which they announced, and hopefully it stays. Other than that, no. Things on in the oil market at least look really good. So maybe now it's an opportunity for Bitcoin to recover here. Hopefully some altcoins. I mean, Virtual's protocol was up like 26% yesterday. We had some coins that like really popped off. Yep. So hopefully that can continue. But yeah, that's it. That's all I'm looking at. And then, there is a lot of liquidity on the Bitcoin heat map, according to CoinGlass, up to $108,000, which also happens to be exactly where there is a bunch of resistance, which Alex, your AI pointed out the other day on the short-term time frames. That long-term, mid-term, though, forecast is absolutely batshit crazy that we got. But yeah, that's it. That's all I got, guys. I got to hop off. But Brian, nice hanging, nice chatting, and thanks for the information.
Thank you, guys. It's been fun hanging.
Yep.
So, Brian, we'll hang out for just a couple more seconds here and round out. Will, I'll talk to you soon, my friend. So, Brian, for context, yesterday we did a thought experiment with Perplexity because I've never used it for this before. But I know that it can like query large amounts of data that is current now with the pro model, right? And then I wanted to see like what kind of conjecture will it extrapolate from a data set that I tell it to look at. And so we were just going through like, you know, recent price history and price action data for Bitcoin, a collection of predictions and all the kind of stuff that it could find online about what analysts were saying about Bitcoin. And then I think I put one or two other little parameters in there. It was just like, you know, give me some predictions for the short term and the midterm. And they were bonkers. It started off like what sounded so reasonable. It like clearly identified where there was some resistance on the chart. It identified where, you know, it thought it could fall down to, where there was some support, all this sort of stuff. And the numbers kind of all seemed to make sense. And then all of a sudden it was just like, okay, you know, short-term prediction, 1 to 2 weeks. And it was like, actually here, it's sitting right here. 1 to 2 weeks. It was just like 108 to $110,000, which was like, okay, this is like sensible. This kind of makes sense. This feels like it could be whatever. We go down one more little line and it's like the weekly and monthly outlook. And it was like, forecasts just a range of 106 to 137 by the end of June. So keep in mind, that's like
a week.
6 days from now with an average of 122. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. So the forecast for the next 2 weeks is 108, but by the end of June, and I was like, okay, so it got a little confused there. And then it just dropped this, the AV/IV ratio, which was not a metric that I was familiar with at all.
Not familiar with it either. Okay.
It's some sort of aggregate value investor value. It's a very weird sounding acronym that has the word value twice. That's all I remember, is that V is value both times. And I'm like, feels like it could have been one V. And it just says that on-chain metrics suggest Bitcoin will reach a top of $330,000 this cycle with no time parameters whatsoever. And I'm just like, we are in the middle of the longest cycle in history where we just keep kicking that can, you know, Alex Becker style down the road. And next week it's coming. And it just makes me think of the beginning of Monty Python, you know, where Sir Lancelot is just like charging down, and then the camera pans back to the castle and you look back and he's reset back to where he was, and it's just that for like that's Bitcoin at 300 grand.
I love these like 2030 predictions. It's like, guys, like, you know, let's throw a finger in the air. It's just like, what's the purpose?
Dude, say literally whatever you want. I think that every time, God love her, but Kathy Wood, every time it's just got to be like, 10 years from now, we think it could hit $1 million. It's like, Kathy, I got to tell you, I think it could do that as well. Whether or not, that's what we're doing here. So, listen, this was really cool. It's not often that I think we get to see products in and around the industry that just like genuinely seem like, you know what? I think this is genuinely going to like help someone do something. And so I think I'm very excited to see kind of what you guys get into. I think the potential is relatively boundless when we think of how many things there are problems with that you could theoretically fix just by having stuff in one place that can all talk to itself. And what's funny to me is that, you know, a maxi might look at this and say it's a Web 2 solution to Web 3 problems. But at the same time, when you really strip it back, I've kind of always had a little bit of beef with the idea that we are in this interoperable world of blockchains. And like, remember the way that they used to always sell us anything Web3 gaming? It's like, oh yeah, the idea is you take your thing from this game and take it over to this game and do whatever. And everything is so siloed in reality. And I think it's funny that it's going to be a solution more like this that actually like gives Web3 the Web3, you know, the ability to take your stuff elsewhere and be able to like look at all of it in one place, even though it's living in 17 different places. I just like, dude, I'm hungry for a solution like that.
That's the world we're getting into. That's the future we all want. So yeah.
Well, again, I really appreciate your time. If there's anything that was there anything that you feel like you wanted to cover that you didn't get a chance to talk about today, or any other thoughts on your mind that have nothing to do with Glider? Anything else in the space that has your interest? Anything else that?
There's always things in the space that are interesting to me. I mean, there's a whole bunch of ZK stuff that I think is really cool. That's a whole other conversation.
Yes.
check us out on the regular socials, glider_FI on X, glider.fi as the website. So you can join our waitlist there. It's going to pay out to be early. That's all I'll say. So do join, and we'll get you an access code as soon as possible.
Sweet. No, it sounds great. And like I said, I appreciate your time. The ZK stuff is so interesting. It's definitely a little over my head, but one of our good friends, Evan McMullen, who is previously of all sorts of things, back from Disco, now into Pravado, and now Polygon ID and Billions and all this kind of stuff. Every time I get the chance to talk to her, because she's brilliant, I'm always just like, I can just feel myself like falling out of it a little bit, just trying to keep up with it. And I've been to a ZK summit before, which was like pretty much exclusively just math geniuses talking about crazy math. And I was just like, oh, guys, I know that this is cool, but I'm just a little too dumb for this. That's definitely a conversation for another time. But anyway, again, thank you so much, Brian. I will have all of the links for everything that we discussed down in the show notes, and then we will share some stuff in Discord as well. And then Brian, I will be sure to get a hold of you guys if we have more questions coming in from the audience just about all this kind of stuff. And I hope that we get the chance to talk to you again soon. I'm looking forward to it.
Sweet. Thank you guys for having me so much.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for tuning in. I apologize if you are joining us from TikTok land, which would be your favorite, more preferred viewing platform, but unfortunately, there is just a phantom in this soundboard that just makes no sense. And I mean, you guys saw it. Evan sat here and looked through the whole thing. There's not a single setting that's different than his. Not a single one. We will figure this out someday, but today was not that day, unfortunately. So thank you all for joining us. We will see you same time, same place, bright and early tomorrow morning. And until then, everybody, rise up.